We're moving into show business now, and while the wider UK economy is struggling to gain momentum, one sector at least is leaping into action. The film and high-end TV industry is seeing a frenzy of activity, with the growth of streaming services having boosted demand dramatically. But can UK studios remain in the spotlight? We sent our business correspondent Theo Leggett on set to find out.
Hey, y'all played a heck of a game out there.
Ted Lasso, the feel-good football comedy, has been a hit for the US streaming service Apple TV+. And this is where it was made.
Well, what do we have here? Okay, so this is our smallest stage in our current studio, so it's about 5,900 square feet.
At West London Film Studios, based near Heathrow Airport, business is booming. Owner Frank Khalid says demand is so high, he's having to build a huge new facility.
16 metres in height, 1,250 square metres of space. Let's face it, if you want to attract the biggest productions, you're going to need a lot of room, and that's what this place is all about. It's one of 4 brand new stages being built here in West London, and the idea is to tap into growing demand for studio space across the UK, including from some of the world's biggest players.
Since 2015, the UK has offered generous tax breaks for film and high-end television. That's raised demand for studio space, as well as ready-to-use facilities like this hospital set.
It's a massive influence, the tax breaks here. In fact, when I first bought the studios, there was no tax break at that time, and a lot of film studios were closing down at the time. In fact, the studio that I bought was a closed-down studio. But since the tax breaks have come along, the demand has just gone up by so much.
Dad told me you found something on a train during the war.
Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny is expected to be one of this year's biggest blockbusters, and much of it was filmed in the UK. Spending on film and high-end television in this country hit a record of more than £6.25 billion last year. But that creates new challenges for the industry.
Do we have enough people working in the industry in the UK to satisfy the need? We need accountants, gardeners, carpenters, electricians, as well as all the more well-known jobs. And we need those jobs all across the UK. So we have calculated we probably need in the region of 20,000 jobs in addition to what we currently have by 2025.
Other steep concerns include high inflation and competition from other countries which also offer generous tax breaks. But people within the industry remain convinced that attracting more movies like this one certainly won't be mission impossible. Theo Leggett, BBC News.
We're staying on the screen now because over the weekend we moved into a Barbie world. The movie about a doll conquered the North American box offices over its debut weekend, raking in $155 million. That makes it the biggest opening weekend of any film so far this year. And another very different blockbuster also premiered in the US. The new Christopher Nolan movie about the atomic bomb inventor Robert Oppenheimer brought in around $94 million. Richard Cooper is the research director at Ampere Analysis, and earlier I asked him what the excitement about these films says about the cinema industry today.
Well, it really does continue to underline the importance of the cinema experience for consumers. There's no way of really replacing that within the home. Streaming is not a ready substitute. However, what we have seen over the course of the last few years is that a lot of the US studios have streaming services as part of their overall offer, have started to shift the emphasis of movie and TV show releasing, of course, onto streaming platforms. So the window between, or rather the length of time between a cinematic release and the time that it appears on a streaming service has been shortened really quite dramatically since the end of the pandemic.
Yeah, it's important, of course, to separate out the film industry from cinemas themselves, and some big players in the cinema end of things have really been suffering lately. Can you give us an overview as to where they're sitting at right now?
Yes, so admissions have been down. As a result of the pandemic, a lot of people lost the habit of going to the cinema. They haven't come back in the same way that they have. But also we've seen a reduction in the volume of those sort of mid-level, mid-budget movies that have been going into the cinema. And that, again, has sort of depressed admissions. So in the UK, we've seen cinema chains going into administration, really as a result of those reduced admissions. But, we are seeing some recovery within that, so we'd expect some closures of some cinema screens, but then it's very likely that the industry will bounce back as consumers start to return to the cinema in greater numbers.
And indeed, blockbusters like this are a good way of jolting people, reminding cinema goers or movie lovers that the cinema is a great place to go and see a movie. But I think we're seeing as well with this Barbie movie in particular, that so much of it will be judged not by the profitability at the box office, but about the reinvigoration of the Barbie brand. It's not just about the movie, but the goods that it sells on the side of it.
Absolutely. Merchandising has always been an incredibly significant part of the overall industry. You know, even from as far back as Star Wars, you know, I'm sure a lot of people can remember that from their childhood, even the rebrand. So merchandising is incredibly important to the movie industry. It's an important revenue stream for the likes of Disney, but of course, you know, also, you know, through the likes of Harry Potter and all of the other sort of major brands that we've grown up with over the years.